Hello, welcome into European Masters. I'm Mad Magical, joined in by Ender. And now on Sunday, we had our tiebreakers conclude that ended the group stage where two top seeds were able to make it out into the knockout stage. And I gotta ask you, Ender, looking at those games, were there any surprises for you?
Were there any surprises? I felt like we got a surprise in pretty much every single group here. Starting off in Group A, I can't believe they did it. Everyone looked at this BTXL roster that started off 0-3 in the first round robin, and they said, it's the UK again. They've let us down. We're sending them home early. But no, these guys came back the second week, won 3 games in a row, upsetting everyone, and somehow, by some miracle, actually made it into the knockout stage.
They made it in the tiebreaker game against Gamer Legion and were able to make it into the knockout stage, which is definitely surprising. But we look at groups B and C, both of which had to play tiebreaker games on Sunday, and we see that it's LDLC and Movistar, the two teams that had to play prior before in an elimination match essentially to be able to make it here, and they both were able to get the #1 seed.
Yeah, and that, of course, was huge for them to be able to get that favorable positioning moving into the knockout stage. But you talk about surprises. Vodafone Giants started off 3-0, pulled the reverse XL, and all of a sudden found themselves in that 3-way tie, eventually not making it into playoffs either. Was another really big surprise for me. I thought they looked really good in the first half, and unfortunately just didn't quite have the gas to make it past the finish.
The previous runner-ups from last summer's European Masters not making it out of the group is definitely a surprise, but we move over to the knockout stage. We look at the games we had today. mousesports against a Go Rogue is going to be the first best of 3. Everything is going to be best of 3 until the finals. So we look at that matchup, and we look at LDLC versus BTXL that we have today.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting matchup, because I think on paper, again, you have to peg as XL as the underdogs, right? LDLC, it feels like every time they come into EU Masters, everyone talks them up and they don't quite deliver, but they were able to finish on top of their group here. So my only question is, can BTXL's momentum carry them well coming into this series? Because I still don't know what XL is going to show up on the day.
That's a very good point, Ender. We just don't know how they're going to be able to perform, if they're going to be able to live up against LDLC, who have been looking very hot, especially around their jungler Tinks. He's been pretty much the guy that everyone has been raving about, saying he and his mechanics have been beautiful. His Graves in the tiebreaker games on Sunday, then his Trundle game later, where he was able to dominate the Rift.
Yeah, I really liked how they sort of decided, hey, let's actually put some resources in you, not just to like go wild and gank in the early game, but on picks like the Graves to actually scale up and have a really big impact in the team fights, because that's something you don't really see junglers get to express a lot in their own skill, is like, we dominate in the team fights, we have the ability to like position and whatnot. So to be able to show a very wide arsenal there is going to give me a lot of faith looking specifically in the jungle position moving forward.
But that's for the next series. We got to look at the one that you and I will be casting, mousesports versus a Go Rogue, and mousesports have been dominant, only dropping a single game so far, and it has been very impressive from Leader and Obsess.
Yeah, these two players constantly on the rotations. In this game, Leader not necessarily playing his bread and butter here on the Azir. He plays a good Azir, but usually it's these assassin-y, these roamy style champions that pair up so well with some more early game jungle options like the ones that Obsess likes to go for. And that is really what makes this team very, very scary, is that mid-jungle 2v2 and their ability to dominate around the map.
But then you look topside, you look at Tolkin and how he's been playing. It allows Obsess and Leader to be aggressive. He is able to absorb so much pressure in the top lane. Gangplank, Aatrox have been his two go-to champions, split push, but also some champions that can join in for team fights.
Yeah, here's the thing, Magical. You ask, why is Tolkin such an extraordinarily good player? One might think it's because of his unparalleled reflexes or his deepest understanding of every single detail and its impact on the game, but the truth is, Tolkin is miles ahead when it comes to down to I lost it. The chat's scrolling too quickly. I can't keep up, guys.
See, you're trying to get I know you were trying to get the coffee pasta going, and this is where I have to interrupt you, because he's going against Szygenda on the other side for a Go Rogue. He has been one of the most pivotal top laners that I've seen throughout the entirety of European Masters, with not only his flanks and how he's able to do that, but then when he joins in for the team fights for a front to back.
Man, I mean, look at the Akali right here. What's he going to be able to do in this fight? Because the Taric ulti goes down early, but they're going to line up for him real easy inside of this quarter. You see, the rest of his team starts off in the back, but that's when he goes wild in towards the backline. It's these types of plays where he hits 3 members with the second cast of the ulti, buys time in the backline. It's high-impact moves like that that really make me look at the top lane and say, hey, we're trying to carry out of that if we're Rogue.
Yeah, and he's the new blood too. He's the youngest one on their roster, and he has been playing phenomenally. You get to see this Aatrox play, where it is, again, a traditional front-to-back team fight, but he has been doing so much damage and bringing so much pressure that nobody can deal with him.
Yeah, it becomes really, really difficult. And then when all of a sudden you have top laners and mid laners flanking into these fights, all of a sudden you really have to, you know, make sure you're sweeping behind you, make sure you're warding your flanks, and not playing too out of control, too loose. Otherwise, that is where Rogue, a team that loves to team fight and sort of express their skill in that way, is going to be able to try and beat you in the 5v5.
And that is what we have to ask ourselves when we go into Champion Select, and how these teams are going to be able to play around that. Is it going to be the flanks from Szygenda and from Czekolad that are going to be able to get them ahead, or are they going to have to play a little bit more around the positioning of Woolite and Mystiques, who have had some less than favorable positioning in a couple of their games? Let's just put that as the nice way of saying it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's always the positioning or the choosing to use an arcane shift into 5 members. But
I was trying to avoid that. I was being nice to them. Come on.
This game. You know, I just like to call it how I see it, Magical. But already we're seeing that Aurelia ban. How many times has Aurelia been banned?
100%, baby.
Well, there you go. Rogue, not one to mess around with that. And yet somehow T still ends up carrying games, no matter what champions you ban away from this guy. I remember casting leader, not just in the LEC, but if you look an entire year ago, back in spring EU Masters 2019, and he would regularly get 5 bans against him, and he just wouldn't care. Like, the man's got, like you say you can ban out his pool. I don't necessarily think that you can, while Aurelia is a very strong pick. Leader's gonna have something ready to go.
Let me look through my notes. I'm pretty sure that that's already happened before, where he's absorbed every single ban. It just, he brings a lot of pressure for him, but I'm really wondering how they're going to be able to play around Leader getting all this pressure, because Obsess has been pretty much left alone. We see that they found Trundle here, but Graves, the thing that he did so well on before, has been left open.
Well, it depends whether or not MOUZ want to go for a more like farming style out of the jungle on the Graves that's looking to match Rogue, who we assume are going to be playing very much for the team fights, or if he wants to make early game plays happen. I'm almost a fan here, if you are mousesports, to play a little bit quicker, because we know Rogue don't love to play super fast, right? Like, Czekolad's going to be on a control style mage in the mid lane. Zanzarah's probably going to be picking a level 6 jungler or something, wants to farm it up a little bit more and have a bigger impact in the team fights. And already, with showing this Thresh, a favorite of promisq down in the bot side, you have abilities to try and unlock yourselves earlier on in the match.
And Thresh has been something that we've been seeing creep up in priority a lot here in this European Masters. Him and Graves have been starting to get a lot more prevalence on how important he has been and how early you see players take this. But with Thresh taken, you see on the other side, Woolite and Mystiques going, alright, we're going to go for a little bit of poke on the side of Varus, but we're also going to have that disengage tool from Tahm Kench to be able to keep him alive from Thresh.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with the rest of this draft here. I'm not the biggest fan of the Tahm Kench, if anyone knows here.
What do you mean? You don't believe in the top lane Tahm Kench dream? Is that what you're
hey, top lane Tahm Kench. Dude, top lane Tahm Kench, I've never seen it lose a lane phase.
It doesn't ever lose a lane phase.
Terrorizes.
Exactly.
But in all honesty, if it is going to be the support Tahm, I'd love to see Rogue go for more like split push style options, but I don't think they're going to do that, and that's where I think the Tahm Kench falls a little bit flat here, is mousesports already showing their hand, looking for the team fight. The Ornn is going to give them excellent scaling options in terms of items as well, so this would be a game where it's not too bad for Leader and Obsess to take more scaling options. If this was going to be a Leader Azir game, like, it wouldn't actually surprise me if this was the one.
Definitely can be what they opt to go for, but we're still seeing the targeted bans towards him. Echo, it could also be flexed for Obsess into the jungle, but I'm really just looking at that Misfortune and Ornn. You already kind of mentioned it. When you pick a Tahm Kench this early, not going for Braum, you can't really flex that around as comfortably as you would like to, so you feel comfortable going for Ornn and Misfortune, who usually just get completely shut down by one champion.
Yeah, and there's not going to be that, heavy dive option either. It seems like Rogue are going to be playing a little bit more for their backliners at the moment, and of course, we're going to have to wait to see what Zanzarah likes to go for here, but this is a game where I think maybe a Gragas could be a good fit. Of course, has the ability to interrupt Obsess, or rather the Ornn. Ornn's probably not going to be in the jungle since it's not Zanzarah picking it this time. But when you can throw away that Gragas ulti, when Ornn is in his cast, you can disengage very well, play to your backline, especially if this is going to be an on-hit Varus who's trying to cut through frontliners. I think that would be a good look for him out of the jungle.
Well, Aatrox and Yasuo are going to both be beating the bench, and since it is the Yasuo ban, we've only seen Akali, Yasuo, and Azir out of leader. This almost makes it so that MOUZ feel like they're pushed back into the corner, but leader has such a giant champion pool that it's surprising he's only been going to those few champions.
Yeah, the thing is, right, like, I called the Azir early on as something that would fit MOUZ's composition, but Azir, not necessarily the champion that can get early priority against the Syndra, so I'd almost be surprised if leader said, oh yeah, I'll take the Azir, we'll scale, that's fine. Although with a Sejuani shown, this could actually just be like an Azir Graves spot right here where you go full scaling, you just say, hey, if you're going to pick a tank, we're going to beat a champion that from 3 items onward is going to outscale you. We're going to have the damage to cut through the front line. Graves would also mean you have a black cleaver source to sort of shred front lines to allow Misfortune to go all in too, but instead it will be the Jarvan. This is something that Obsess likes to do, is go for more early game impacting champions. So instead of saying, hey, I'll sort of match the early game of a Sejuani and outscale you later on, it is going to be from level 2 onwards we have gank potential.
This is almost where I want to see a leader go for something that would be able to rotate well with Obsess. That's how MOUZ have gotten ahead so many times early on, but he goes for Azir, still opting for that wave clear into something that can wave clear just as efficiently in the early game.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a surprise to me here, because you expect Syndra to get early priority in this matchup, which then means leader has a more difficult time of backing up Obsess, of allowing him to try and make plays. So if anything, we could see some early action around mid lane to try and open up the lane phase, gets leader some pressure, because as we were talking about a lot in the pregame, the game plan of MOUZ has very often been use leader's pressure out of the mid lane to pair up with Obsess and look for dives in side lanes. And this is just a matchup where it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that until Azir can get some items.
I'm looking at this draft. Are we sure we have the teams right? Because AGO have more of the early game, mid game focused team comp, then MOUZ have more of the scaling kind of comp. This is backwards.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting here for sure, because like it feels like both teams have some pieces that make a lot of sense for them and some that don't, right? When you look at MOUZ and you say, oh, we could actually take the scaling route, oh, but we prefer the Jarvan over the Graves. And then you have AGO Rogue, who all of a sudden you have more of the team fight style, and it's like, no, we're going to slap a Renekton right up there in the top lane. We want some lane domination. What this will mean is that Rogue do have a lane to play through in the early game. It's going to be a little bit more about those solo lanes, but I'm hesitant to think they can get much attacking an Ornn lane up there. He can soak up matchups so easily.
Exactly. This is where we have these question marks. We look at how the teams have been playing throughout the entirety of European Masters before in the group stage, and now we're looking at how they're going to go into this knockout stage, the quarterfinals. So much is on the line that they have both opted for completely different strategies to start it off. It makes me surprised going into it.
Yeah, a lot of surprises here, but of course the best of threes is where we can get some more fun and where teams do have the room to experiment just a little bit here. Again, all playoffs matchups up until the finals are going to be best of threes, so you win game 1 and you're already going to be on match points. This is going to be a very important one for both sides.
Because right now, MOUZ, they also have a lot of weight on their shoulders. This is the number 2 team from the DACH region. Schalke 04 Evolution came in as the favorites. Every analyst was talking about them. They're the team to keep your eyes on. But MOUZ are the only representative from their region to make it out into the knockout stage, going against the number 1 seed from the Ultraliga, AGO Rogue. They were so dominant. This is probably one of the most dominant splits Rogue has ever had in Poland. Yet they still find themselves at the number 2 seed, and the first time they've actually made it out of the group stage.
And to have to face off against MOUZ in their first game of the knockout stage is going to be incredibly difficult for them as well, because you just look at this roster, right? They got 2 EU Masters champions, they've got 1 MSI champion. Like, this roster looks stacked here in ERL competition, so already this team has been pegged by many as favorites to win the whole thing. I remember when the news was made that this roster was being put together, a lot of people were like, isn't this just an LEC team? And I don't think they've been as dominant, right? They're not like uncontested number ones. They did drop one game in the regular part of this tournament, but still, it has been fairly dominant through them from out.
And I feel like a lot of that has to go to their playstyle. They have not ever really forfeited how they like to play. They play around Obsess and Leader. They use that with Tolkin absorbing pressure into the top lane, so then they can go bot lane for Jeskla and promisq, play around them, and play around objective control. This is where I want to see how MOUZ are now going to put themselves when they have Obsess on an early jungler, but then they have Leader on something that needs to scale.
Yeah, the thing is, Rogue have already put down like really solid vision control early in the river. You see, they don't want to open up any sort of bot lane gank opportunity. Like, look at those 3 wards. Those are going to be timing out soon, but knowing that Obsess started actually on the top side of the map, perhaps, informed them of good spots to place those wards. You know that very likely a Jarvan is going to be wanting to play around a Thresh lane as opposed to an Azir lane or a Ornn into Renekton lane. Those can be fairly difficult to get a gank off in. So Zanzarah even now making this early trek inside of the jungle to figure out exactly where Obsess could be. He sees no red buff, the Krugs are still up, the Raptors are still up. That Jarvan has to be topside.
Czekolad, we get to see briefly getting a lot of damage onto Leader as it is Obsess trying to get a gank into the mid lane, but the flash from Czekolad is going to be able to get him out of there pretty easily. Leader unfortunately could not back that up too easily since he did get chunked out pretty heavily.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. This is what I was saying in draft, is with the Jarvan, with this mid lane matchup, you want to gank mid-side early, because even though Czekolad can get back in the lane, now that's a flashless Syndra whose lane has been frozen against him. Leader smartly stacked up that wave, so now Zanzarah has to get called over towards this mid lane, and Obsess is going to try, potentially, to make a repeat happen.
Czekolad TP'd back into the mid lane to try to unfreeze that wave. Obsess did want to take away chickens, but wasn't exactly sure where Zanzarah was and said, alright, it's better if I back off so far and then try to see if I can repeat that gank in just a minute or two, but when we know Sejuani's not going to be near that mid lane.
Yeah, so the thing is, I don't think mid lane is killable for MOUZ until level 6 comes through from Leader, although a good interrupt there from Czekolad will deny, I believe, 2 minions from Leader, which is important in a matchup like this. You know, whether or not you can hit level 6 first, that probably means that you can threaten to zone away your opponent on an entire minion wave and sort of get push based off of that fact alone here. But we are going to continue to watch Obsess and whether or not he can make that repeat happen, because the idea here, I think, again, is either make the mid gank happen at level 6 and then, you know, turn that into, you know, a turret plate, whatnot, or just use that pressure to transition into potentially a bot lane dive, which is the lane that MOUZ really do want to be playing through. It's just hard when there are wards.
But if you're Zanzarah, you understand that matchup, correct, Ender? This is where you say, alright, I'm Sejuani, I know Jarvan's going to be on the bottom half of the map, I just keep myself here. Szygenda can handle himself up in the top lane.
Yeah, so Zanzarah will definitely be like shading down towards bot side a little bit more often than not, I feel like, if you're looking at him and saying, oh, we need to take a more passive approach, especially when you know promisq just reset, he's not in the bottom lane, Obsess cleared away a ward in mid lane, like, you know a play is happening near mid side. That's why Czekolad isn't stepping forward to last hit here. He's playing very, very passively.
I do like that. Trying to see if he can path away good scatter of the week, but here comes Leader to get a lot of damage on to Czekolad. Wants to be able to get first blood. Obsess over the wall, getting that damage, but here comes Zanzarah trying to see if they can keep the mid laner alive. But it's going to be first blood for promisq. Then they turn on to Zanzarah, who's a little too far to flash. Szygenda now, next one in the rig with the TP coming in from Tolkin. Szygenda, you didn't want to be a part of that fight. Had to back out pretty quickly. It is going to be MOUZ taking that kill and taking control of the jungle.
It's just a perfect play right there, team-wise, from MOUZ. They knew they had the flash in the mid lane. promisq was off the reset. There was no chance of a counter gank by the Tahm Kench because they saw Mystiques in the bottom side. And Czekolad, who thought he was playing so passively in mid lane, wasn't playing passively enough right here. No vision on down here with the Lantern to sort of try and help close the gap here. And of course, Leader to make sure Czekolad couldn't really escape from this. It took a whole lot of damage on the pathway out. It's just too easy for MOUZ. Against a flashless Syndra, there had to be more respect given over.
I love that promisq flashed forward and steals the kill with death sentence. Didn't need to happen, but still first blood, you'll take that, and you even get a couple flashes out of Rogue.
Kill secured is what we like to call it. He's an MSI champ after all. We got to remember the fact.
See, as a support player myself, I completely agree with that. Support should actually get more kills than they're allowed.
Yeah, but you're not really a support player. You're like,
what? What do you
before
mean?
fasting Senna was a thing, you were probably like playing supports like they were supposed to be with the fasting Senna.
Well, yeah, is that not how you're supposed to play? I get everything. I need gold, duh. Vigar.
For those of you that don't know, Magical's a bit of a troll in
What?
game.
No.
And likes to play like promisq, flashing forward, getting the last hits.
I don't know what
I'm
you're
sure
talking
you guys
about. This is
have all
slander. These are lies.
experienced that.
This is not true. None of this is true. My AP Sejuani support is a viable build.
And now you've lost everyone.
It's okay. I'm pretty sure nobody believed me before that anyways.
This guy built Wrecker, people. He
Hey,
built Wrecker.
hey, 100% win rate. You do not forget that. It has never lost a competitive game. You show me one where it's lost. I dare you. I dare you.
Look, you can't argue with the facts right there.
Exactly. See, but we get back into this game because this is what we actually are here to talk about, Ender. Stop getting me distracted with the best item in the entire game. It's about what's going on in the jungle. Obsess has been able to invade, take away the red buff too from Zanzarah, all from that one play onto Czekolad in the mid lane where they no longer have mid priority.
Yeah, Leader's been able to walk over now and help Obsess out. Maybe they just camp this brush, right? Okay, if Sejuani had appeared, you know, in the next few seconds, you see Leader was like waiting like, hey, let's actually make a play happen. But Zanzarah completely out of his topside jungle and now will be ticking over to level 6, a little bit slower than Obsess. Now Czekolad does have his flash returning in just a moment inside of mid lane, but the fact that Jarvan now should be hitting level 6 probably after the Rift Herald, although I can't see the exact EXP values at a minute, should be ticking over soon, is going to be a big deal for MOUZ and any sort of play around objectives.
With Leader able to shove out that mid lane, they were able to start onto the Rift Herald, but Zanzarah and Czekolad read that pretty well. They put the ward over the wall. Going to take only a little bit of damage, even calling down Szygenda to try to see if they can defend this, but they opt to keep into the fight. Wanted to take this Rift Herald away from MOUZ.
Zanzarah, ooh, I don't know if you want to be here, buddy. Leader
here.
does have access to ulti.
Who got the smite? I think that goes to Zanzarah. He was able to steal it away, but uses Glacial Prison. Will die in the fight, but they're going to be able to steal away Rift Herald.
Alright, so some gold going over towards Leader. Zanzarah, of course, did pick up the Herald, and Rogue should be securing a plate in mid lane as well. So overall, gold-wise, this is going to be a favorable trade towards Rogue, assuming that they can use that Rift Herald well somewhere.
Woolite wanted to make that play, but Chain of Corruption just went wide. Leader was able to sidestep that one pretty well. Had that connected, probably would have actually been a kill. They have enough damage from both Woolite and Czekolad in the mid lane. Unfortunately, doesn't opt for that, and isn't able to land the skill shot, so they have to back out of that one. Go back into the bot lane. This is something I actually do kind of want to talk about a little bit more, is Woolite and Mystiques in this bot lane. They've been doing a very good job for themselves, being able to pressure Jeskla and promisq, a lane that you would think has a lot of kill priority over a Varus.
Yeah, the thing is that Kench can actually like pretty freely harass a little bit with his Q, just because of the cooldown, whereas like promisq ever fishing for a hook is going to put it on CD for a long time and give pressure on over towards Rogue, so can't really, you know, fish with those a whole lot.
Wait, that makes me, that brings up a good question. It shouldn't be the other way around. Since he does have a hook, he's almost like a fisherman, and he's going up against a catfish. Shouldn't there be some like weird interaction
take the
there?
bait.
Or is it because
like
he's not noodling? He's not noodling. That's what it is. You know what noodling
That's
is,
the
right?
problem.
Do you know what that is?
No.
So, for actually fishing catfish, noodling is where you stick your whole arm into the water and use your fingers almost like worms, and you let the catfish bite onto your arm, and then you pull out the catfish. Yeah, that is a real thing.
Stop! Don't, no, I don't want that image.
Well, too bad. You got it.
Please don't go sticking your arms in holes, people.
I'm just telling you what actually happens. Oh no, Zanzarah goes wide, but they're able to get the at least ult out of him. There it is. Good kill coming in from Czekolad, despite the fact Zanzarah went wide.
Yep, Leader just got noodled there in the mid lane as Czekolad and Zanzarah can go ahead, pick up a plate, and then drop the Rift Herald as well. This is going to be a really big turn for them, assuming they put down the Herald, which doesn't end up happening.
Surprise.
And Leader can teleport back on the next wave. I'm actually confused why this wouldn't be happening. Of course, now Thresh has roamed up, so they have missed their window, but that was a really good chance to pick up a whole lot of turret plates.
No, with Leader too far out of there, even with Zanzarah whiffing on the ult, it was still enough where they could get Scatter of the Weak into ult from Czekolad to get the kill onto Leader. They had priority. They could have gotten probably the entire turret with that Rift Herald.
Yeah, don't love that. Of course, still do have some time to place that one down here, and This is going to be an opportunity now. So right now, Rogue have moved 3 members towards this middle lane. They have a very brief window to try and gank on towards leader, who is quite low. And the rest of Rogue is actually moving up here as well. So this is going to be the Herald play with all 5 members towards this mid side. And that will be the mid lane tower right before the Ocean Drake spawns. So it should be an easy pick up there as well.
Might have been even better timing, being able to pop that, get the turret right into Ocean Dragon so they can get themselves their second dragon of the game. Something that Obsess has been able to pride himself on is his control around objectives. He's been losing out, slowly but surely, to Zanzarah. Even though the tier 1 does go down in the mid lane, Obsess still wants to put a fight over this objective, saying that this is going to be ours. We're not giving it over without a fight.
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of ultimates are actually on cooldown. Czekolad and Zanzarah is just going to be coming up right now. Leader, the same can be said, but Jeskla used his ultimate just recently as well, so won't have access to that. Means MOUZ don't feel super confident starting that one up immediately. Now Szygenda should be going back to base to finish off his Blade of the Ruined King with teleport ready.
Looking for the gank in the bot lane, not going to be able to get the hook. It's going to be the hook the other way around. And promisq, he sits himself golden. Obsess tries to go back into the fight to get the flash, the promisq. While everyone else is jumping into the backline, zoning away Jeskla, who's going to be the one with the damage. Instead, everyone with the tanks right in the backline. Woolite going to be swallowed up and eaten out. Has to flash away to be able to survive. Obsess wants to be able to get over the wall to be able to kill anybody, but he can't. Has to flash back towards his own team. A lot of damage back. Here comes Czekolad. Gotta be careful, even though you're a tank. Tolkin does a lot himself. Czekolad on the other side with the flank. Szygenda gets 1. There's going to be 2 from Czekolad, and the rest are trying to see if they fall away, but MOUZ got nowhere to run. They overcommitted, overbit, and they got noodled into the fight. It's going to be an ace this early on for Rogue.
Wow, Czekolad absolutely monstered that fight. He starts it off by winning the 1v1 up against leader, and then finds that long collapse on the flank towards the fight in that bottom side. That means turret plates, that means an Ocean Drake, and 5 kills now on the Syndra that's going to be able to kill anything he sees for the foreseeable future.
Dark Seal fully stacked. This is looking so nice for the side of Rogue right now. We're only 14 minutes into the game, and we have nearly a 4,000 gold lead for them. We got to take a look at this play, because it starts off in the mid lane, where Czekolad's trying to fight against leader.
Yeah, so leader goes in with the ult thinking that he has his Ornn right with him. Then he doesn't have a gap closer against a Syndra because his Ornn teleported into the bot lane. Leader gets absolutely jebaited right there by his top. And then the rest of MOUZ, who are extending so far down in that bottom lane, have no damage because Jeskla was just zoned by Szygenda by himself, who had to, cleanse and walk away right there. So it was just a bunch of tanks beating away at tanks, but they were overextended, which meant Czekolad with full HP comes straight down into the bot lane for a triple kill. Oof. And the RIP emote.
And has a nearly 2,000 gold lead now over leader, where normally MOUZ have relied so heavily on Obsess and leader to get these early plays to roam together. They haven't been able to actually do that. Czekolad has been doing a great job at battling back and getting kills over his opponent in that mid lane.
Yeah, and he was bullied a bit early on, right? Early gank by Obsess, and now top lane, Tolkin in trouble.
Tolkin is a tank versus Renekton. Is he going to be able to survive long enough for Obsess to be able to get the knockup? But here's Zanzarah. They got the double melee, so it's going to be permafrost for days, and they lock down Tolkin so Szygenda can pick up the kill.
Tolkin tried to run down there towards Obsess, but Zanzarah was right there as well. Ends up being a lot of trouble, and with the top laner going down, should mean a very easy Rift Herald pickup, with Zanzarah committing over towards that objective as well. Here goes leader, though, misses the ulti. That is tragic.
That is an unfortunate circumstance that just occurred for leader. It would have been a nice pick had they gotten it, and they could have possibly then turned to contest this Rift Herald, but now they can't. They don't have priority in top lane. They don't even have it in mid lane, because there's no turret to be able to fall back, and then you look bot lane, Woolite might even be able to get this turret on the next minion wave.
Yeah, that was just unlucky. It wasn't a missed ult or anything. Just,
it was unlucky.
Pure RNG on that one, I think.
Yeah.
And now Rogue get everything they want. This gold lead is about to explode for the side of Rogue. And Czekolad is building, oh my word, he's just going straight into the
Spellbinder.
Wisp plus Spellbinder, if that's the one.
I got you.
You rarely see that, but 16 minutes in, 2 completed items, a whole lot of flat AP, and if you thought Syndra was already unfair with 1 press R and 1 shot you button, now that's just going to make that even more important.
I would have preferred the Magi's personally.
I like the Magi's too. Unfortunately,
more just because I want more one shot. That's the only reason why.
Yeah.
I just want the one shot. It doesn't matter if it's actually optimal.
I wonder if Czekolad would upgrade his Mejai's once his flash returns. Because the one concern is that you upgrade that, you go into a fight, and you have Ornn ult, Jarvan ult, Azir ult against you, and you just can't get away from them.
That's fair.
Now that you when your flash is back up, when you have Tahm Kench with you, I don't think it's a troll item by any means.
Let's keep an eye on that, for sure. We'll keep an eye on Czekolad and see where he's going to be in just a couple minutes once flash is back up. But there's still going to be these waves getting shoved out. Leader actually in the top lane trying to see if he can get some pressure back against Szygenda, the split pushing Renekton build that you see Blade of the Rune King in to try for, well, Black Cleaver, my bad, that they're going to try to go for, but it's going to be answered on the bottom half of the map, which is going to be more impactful. You pop Shelly down there, you take a tier 2, and you might even get pressure onto the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, they're going to get the tier 3 as well, right? All they have to do is walk this in. That'll get 66% of the turret's HP, and then all it takes is a few auto attacks to open that one up, and that can be really impactful. Wait, they can just dive Tolkin.
Look at this. Tolkin takes way too much damage early on, only having armor to try to survive. It's not going to help you against the Syndra.
All right, how big are their brains? They're going to give, no, they're going to leave the inhibitor.
Yeah, I was about to say, you don't take the inhibitor here. You do not take it. You give all that gold over to MOUZ? No.
No, I like that a lot here. And what I was going to say is that Szygenda on the Renekton that, you know, can actually win out in the side lane really hard against the Ornn. Now it means your Baron potential is going to be so insane when you split up into a 4-1 with Szygenda going down bot side. Nothing to be able to stop him either. This game is looking so good now for Rogue.
I love that play from Szygenda as well. Even though it is sacrificing the tier 1 top lane, you are just making it so you can stay alive, get the minion wave. Unfortunately, there's too many minion waves in the bot lane crashing, so it will take the inhibitor.
MOUZ are geniuses!
MOUZ, we're smart. They let it go, because now they get all this free minion that's going to be pouring into their base.
Yeah, and you wonder, like, why did they let their inhibitor die right there in the bottom lane? Well, now the wave is like, right, MOUZ are down 5k gold right now. So what can they actually do proactively on the map? Nothing.
I was about to say nothing.
All their outer turrets are down. They're not going to be able to contest this third Drake of the game. So
hey, that's
what
a lie.
You can do is farm up.
That's a lie. Look at this top lane.
They cannot.
There's an outer turret.
Calm. Okay, that turret is about to fall in.
I'm just saying, you said there was none, and there is clearly one.
Okay, fine. You beat me. You beat me at my own game. You nailed it. No, but really the thing is, for the next 5 minutes, they can perma-farm down in bot side, and then they can make a play around the fourth Drake of the game.
We're looking to see if they can get some shutdowns. 350 available on Szygenda, but look at the damage on the promisq. Man, the Renekton, he was able to take a chop right out of the MVP from MSI. There he goes, down into the ground with leader himself. Everyone else showed up for Rogue. They're going to be able to push in this top wave, and that all fell apart for MOUZ.
Yeah, so I understand the idea. Force top when you know Rogue are on the Dragon, but there was only one person on the Dragon. The rest of Rogue were able to get up into that top lane super fast. Remember, they have TPs, they have the Tahm Kench ultimate, so you are not able to attack side lanes in this game if you are MOUZ. And now you're going to lose even more turrets. These should be both inners going down right before the Baron ends up spawning as well. So with full map control, Rogue can look to close this out very soon. Just all they need is the Baron, and it's over.
This is so impressive out of Rogue as well. They have been the team that has been trying to scale up. They have been trying to see if they can survive until the late, but this is the time they're playing early. They tried to make the call there. They will be able to get that inner turret and then back off and reset around Baron.
Yeah, that was also an awful cleanse there from Jeskla. He popped it before he got hit by the Sejuani ult, so he had to flash as well. That was like, there's a Captain Jack, that was like a, I don't know, Ensign Jack. That was just god-awful. Now you can see, with the play up top side, Szygenda, way too tanky, absolutely murders them in the top side of the map. You just can't make it happen. And that threw away like pretty much any chance I felt that MOUZ had of coming back in this game. Yes, it's technically still possible, but you're in a situation now where you don't have a bot lane inhibitor, which means that now Rogue are going to be starting to send people up towards the Baron. You can't send Azir bot lane for much longer because there's no teleport on the Azir either. So it's either going to be Ornn farming in the bot lane, who, let's face it, you don't really love to see, or you're not going to be able to bring 5 members up around the Baron.
Especially now that you look at the items and see how much Rogue has been able to spend. They have a 3,000 gold lead that was shown by Szygenda over Tolkin. So he has an item and a half pretty much over his opponent. It makes it so much more difficult for MOUZ to play into this Baron. They have to essentially sacrifice it to get any gold on the map.
Yeah, that is, that's a 21-minute Baron right there.
That is.
And that's going to persist all the way through the Mountain Drake spawning as well. So Mountain Soul should be an easy pickup here for Rogue. Rogue are going to be able to siege top lane and mid lane at the same time. Remember, that bot lane pressure in about, 45 seconds. The minions are going to be approaching towards the base once they can push through wave 1 and wave 2 that they're going to face off against. And by that time, Rogue already going to be looking to crack some of these towers.
They're setting up this mid wave, waiting for Szygenda's lane to come up on the top side. promisq wants to make a play, but he just can't. They can't find these picks. They had early game options with Thresh and Misfortune, but it was never able to find an impactful moment, and they jump immediately, blowing off Misfortune. It is Obsess trying desperately to hold on for dear life, but you can look at how little damage they actually take from the turret. Zanzarah had to bail. Szygenda going golden to be able to survive, but you can see the poke that's coming in on the other side, having to get the flash out of Renekton to be able to survive, but they can really reset now that they have Warmogs on Zanzarah to try to see if they can push further.
Okay, that might have been a little bit ham here from Rogue, but Szygenda goes back to base, will be able to teleport back in as well. It's still going to be a huge win for them with a mid lane inhibitor surely falling down. No ultimates left on the side of MOUZ. They're just going to have to watch and whimper as this base gets destroyed in front of their eyes.
Like I said, Zanzarah has Warmogs. He doesn't even need to go back. He took so much damage, reset the fight, back up the full, so they can easily make plays like that and then reset without any pressure coming in from MOUZ.
Wow, Szygenda not even teleporting in either. I feel like he could have TP'd to a minion up in the top lane and been able to, keep that minion alive and take down the tower. But instead, it will just be a fight for the Nexus here with 2 supers on the way.
This is what you expect from the #1 seed from Poland, putting down the pressure. The mountain they have climbed here. The flash in from Czekolad onto promisq, not able to pick up a kill, but it's enough to get him back towards his fountain. They are trying to see if they can siege down these Nexus turrets. They're so low, but they have to wait until the minions come back because the bot lane inhibitor had to respawn.
All right, Rogue, calm down. Let's make sure we get all 3 inhibitors before we go for the end. Although, look at that!
Pick! That is what you needed right on to promisq. Getting Obsess out of there as well. Jeskla does no damage with that bullet time. He's too far behind. The siege is there from Rogue as they're trying to see if they can get one desperate route out of MOUZ. They're trying where they can to find anybody out who's a little bit too far, but they're flashing back to their base. Szygenda still has TP to be able to rejoin.
Oh, man. But is he going to rejoin? I don't think he is. He just wanted to recall in the center right there. We're just 15 seconds away from the Mountain Soul spawning as well. So it looks like Rogue might have been able to close it out on that push, but they're going to go back to basics here, make sure they can get that permanent buff before they do it. And as we said, there's no chance of MOUZ to get on over here.
So it was already hard enough to kill Zanzarah. Now he's got a shield that's going to be able to regenerate along top that Warmogs. This is just brutal.
I've got good news for MOUZ. Zanzarah's pretty much only built HP, so the actual Mountain Drake itself doing nothing.
That is true. Good point. But Ender, they still can't kill him.
True. Yeah, and they're not going to be able to kill him either, right? Like, this is a huge problem for them. Leader, of course, has finished off a Rabadon's death cap, so he's at 2 items, but I've got bad news. Everyone on Rogue is at 3 or very fast.
Can you give me some good news for MOUZ?
Well. There's a game 2. And maybe a game 3.
Well,
that's the good news.
I am kind of in the agreement with you right now. It is looking dire for mousesports. They are back against the wall, trying desperately to fight. They've only dropped 1 game prior to this one, and if they aren't going to be able to succeed, they're going to be almost down and out. They have to make it so they win every game from here on out to be able to get into the semifinals. They got it last time. They're trying desperately with Obsess going into the back line to Czekolad, but they have no damage to be able to take him down quick enough. Everyone else is going to turn. Zanzarah, first to fall, taking the tower for way too long. They're going to be able to get the hook onto Czekolad, but the flash coming in from Mystiques to be able to keep him alive so he can get out of there. Getting a little bit of poke where they need to from Woolite. Otherwise, there's not really much MOUZ can do. They got the kill, but they have their Nexus exposed.
Yeah, Szygenda, Woolite still full HP. They're going on towards leader.
Oh, look at the damage that they're able to output immediately before Emperor's Divide could even do a thing to deter them from that engage. Czekolad has TP too, so all he has to do is go back, rejoin the fight. This game is looking over for MOUZ right when they're trying to put up their last fight with promisq dying immediately. Tolkin into the backline. You're not taking enough to be able to get the kills that you want to do. Szygenda gets himself out of there. It will be Rogue securing game 1 and putting MOUZ at match point. This is them back to the wall.
And what a monster performance coming out of Czekolad in the mid lane. I mean, my god, the man finished with 10 kills right there after being ganked, after being punished early. He was the first death of the game, and then got 10 kills uninterrupted. Just flawless stuff from him.
Shows you why he's gotten the Syndra so many times in this European Masters. But for now, we're going to toss it to a break. We'll be right back with more action.
Magic. 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 Magic.
Vous comprenez maintenant pourquoi j'ai créé la Magic? En un clip, vous devenez Magic.
La monture avec ces 2 clips pour 149 €.
C'est Magic.
Dispositif médical.
This is my creed. The boots that make me faster. The items that make me stronger. The potions that I drink. I get the best to be more powerful, so my champion rises to the top. But all this leveling up means nothing if I don't level up myself. It's the healthy potions I drink in real life that make me stronger. Because you can only rule the game when you realize you are your most important champion. To play like a pro, eat like a pro.
Welcome back into European Masters. Game 1 of the quarterfinals did not disappoint, but it wasn't the team we expected to be explosive out of the gates. It was a Go Rogue looking dominating over mousesports.
Yeah, they just absolutely owned in this game, and while the start of this fight in particular, it looks like it could go either way. It's very close. Szygenda does a great job of zoning Jeskla out of that fight. It really is the story of Czekolad in this game, finding the solo kill on towards leader to start it off, and then this full collapse on down towards the bottom lane. He picked up 3 total kills off of this fight and never looked back. He was the standout player from Rogue in this game, even after being ganked in the early stage of things, because he just was unkillable and slaughtered anything he saw for the rest of this match.
It shows us why they've been putting so much reliability and pretty much respect into getting Syndra for Czekolad every single time they can. He is a monster on that champion, but the rest of Rogue were there to back him up when they needed to.
Yeah, you know, you saw in all those plays, especially utilizing the teleports, the Tahm Kench ultimate as well, to be very mobile around the map. There weren't a ton of fights in this game because, quite frankly, Rogue just jumped out to such a huge early game lead, taking a 17.5-minute inhibitor down to the bot side, a 21-minute Baron, a 24-minute Elder Drake, but rather the Mountain Soul for themselves as well. They were just so far ahead in this game, and it really did come through pretty much that one major team fight in the bottom side, combined with excellent objective control from Zanzarah.
And you and I were talking a little bit during the break about the draft that came in from MOUZ, that with Jarvan locked in, we just weren't really happy seeing Azir picked for leader. Had it been Graves, right, I think you and I were both in agreement that that was a fine draft, but going with an early game jungler like Jarvan and then pairing it up with someone who wanted to scale felt a little bit disjointed out of MOUZ.
Yeah, I mean, you could see some of the theory, right, which was, like, attack a mid lane early, and hopefully that would open leader up to, you know, maybe make some plays and look for dives with the rest of the team, but you could see in the 1v1 matchup that still wasn't favorable even after the early kill. Syndra still had the upper hand right there, and, you know, had they just opted into more of a scaling route or gone, like, double down on the aggressive, like, try to get a counter pick to the Syndra that can have some pressure after the early kills, that would have been a better look for the team, I do feel like, because they sort of split up their decision-making in the draft, and that meant even after the early good plays, it wasn't enough to swing that matchup.
But then looking over to a Go Rogue, they're looking great to start off the quarterfinals. That was one hell of a showing out of Czekolad. Already going up a match point now against mousesports. We were just talking about how they are taking the torch of the DACH region. They are now the favorites to win it all, since that was what the region that won last European Masters. There's Berlin International Gaming Big. They took home the prize. You have the reigning champion region that is now at match point and might get kicked out of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, that's just crazy right there, especially when you look around the roster that mousesports have been able to put together, right? Like, they've got every single topping you could ever ask for. It's like the perfect pizza. It's just pineapple, right? And now this team, it's like plain cheese after game 1. I'm like, what's this? I want it to be better.
I'm sorry, barbecue chicken pizza is where it's at. But anyways, besides the point, we need to toss it to a break because we want to get into game 2. We want to see if a Go Rogue can keep up that domination or if mousesports can turn it around, so don't go anywhere.